In the world of cars, size usually means power. Think V8 engines, long wheelbases, roaring exhausts. But what if I told you that one of the most influential vehicles in post-war Britain was so tiny, so strange, and so underdressed? People couldn't even agree if it was a car, a tricycle, or a glorified shopping cart with headlights. This is the 1952 Bond Minicar, a three-wheeled lightweight oddball that looked like someone took a jet fighter's fuel tank, stuck wheels under it and said, "Yeah, that'll do." It had wooden doors, a motorcycle engine, no reverse gear, and somehow it still became a nationwide success story. But why? What made this car so special that over 24,000 people actually bought it? Well, hold on to your tiny steering wheel because we're about to uncover the shocking secrets of the Bond Minicar. Smash that subscribe button like you're smashing your umbrella in a thunderstorm, because you're about to learn how a car this bizarre became a British icon. And stay tuned, because in just a few minutes I'll tell you how this car pulled off one of the weirdest mechanical tricks ever seen in automotive history. Let's start at the very beginning, right after World War II. Britain was broke, resources were tight, steel was rationed, people needed transportation but couldn't afford proper cars. Enter Laurie Bond, a man with a wild engineering brain and a garage full of aircraft parts. Before he was building cars, Laurie designed military equipment and aircraft components during the war. And when the fighting ended, he didn't take a vacation. He got to work repurposing leftover war materials into something the public desperately needed: cheap personal transport. So what did he do? He looked at the streamlined aerodynamic drop tanks that fighter planes used to carry extra fuel and thought, why not put wheels on that? The result? The Bond Minicar prototype, a teardrop-shaped three-wheeled vehicle with an aluminum body, motorcycle engine and a total weight of, get this, just over 200 kilograms, 440 pounds. That's lighter than a vending machine. It was so light, two people could literally pick it up and move it. But don't laugh too hard, because this weird little machine was about to shake up the UK's car market. And if you think that's weird, just wait until we talk about how it started moving without a reverse gear. Under the hood, well, more like under the flap, was a Villiers two-stroke motorcycle engine starting at 122cc, later upgraded to 197cc, then 250cc, and eventually peaking at 247cc. Let's break that down. Horsepower, between 9 to 12 GP in most models. Top speed, around 45 to 55 miles per hour if you prayed first. Fuel economy, up to 70 mpg. Yep, 70. This car sipped fuel like a nun sips tea, but here's the kicker. There was no reverse gear. So how did you back up? In early versions you got out and pushed. No joke. Later on, Bond came up with a brilliant hack: the dinner start system, which allowed the engine to run in reverse. By reversing the polarity of the starter, the two-stroke engine would literally start spinning backward, giving you reverse gear without a gearbox. Try doing that with your V8 Mustang. But powering the car was just one thing. Steering it was a whole other beast, and it led to some pretty terrifying driving stories. Okay, now imagine this. You've got a three-wheeled car with one wheel in the front, and that single front wheel is in charge of both steering and driving. What could possibly go wrong? Plenty. When you turn the wheel in a Bond Minicar, that front wheel isn't just pivoting, it's also trying to push the entire vehicle forward. That's like asking your ankle to do the job of both your knee and your hip. As a result, you got something drivers called the Bond wobble. That's when the car would sway side to side like a shopping trolley with a busted front wheel. Hit a pothole? Good luck. Take a sharp turn? You might end up in a bush. And the brakes? Only the rear wheels had drum brakes, meaning the front wheel, you know, the one controlling everything, had zero braking power. That's like riding a bike downhill with no front brake. Not ideal. But somehow it worked. Not well, but just enough to get you to the shops and back. And wait until you hear about the body materials. Spoiler alert, you probably have sturdier stuff in your garden shed. The Bond Minicar was the definition of cost-effective engineering. Want metal doors? Forget it. Many models came with plywood doors. And yes, you could literally unscrew them yourself. Some models used canvas roofs that flapped like tents at highway speed. Others had fixed fiberglass shells. The windshield wiper, often manual, a little lever you moved with your hand. This wasn't a car, it was a go-kart with taxis. Interior? What interior? You got 2 seats, sometimes 3. Minimal dials, often just a speedometer and fuel gauge. Heater? Nope. Glove box? Try a shoebox. But here's the genius, it kept prices extremely low. In the early 50s, you could buy a brand new Bond Minicar for less than £300. That's the price of a decent used motorbike. And since it was classified as a motorcycle with a sidecar, you didn't need a full car licence. For many Brits, this was the only affordable path to motorised independence. But just when Bond cars hit their stride, something big happened. Something that would spark a wave of copycats and competition. By the mid-1950s, the Bond Minicar wasn't alone anymore. Thanks to its success, other companies started building their own three-wheelers, the Reliant Regal, Berkeley SE 328, Heinkel Cabine, and even the bizarre Peel P50. The microcar movement had begun. But Bond had momentum. New versions came out, Mark BC all the way up to Mark G by the early 60s. Each version improved a little, stronger frames, better doors, slightly more comfort, and more powerful engines. There was even the Bond family saloon, a longer version with room for kids in the back, if they didn't mind sitting on a shelf. And then came the Bond 875, launched in 1965. It used the 875cc engine from the Hillman Imp, producing a massive 34 GP with a top speed of 80 miles per hour. It could go toe-to-toe with the Mini in performance. But despite these upgrades, the tide was turning. By the late 60s, four-wheeled economy cars like the Mini and Fiat 500 were becoming affordable, safe and stylish. The three-wheeler niche shrinking fast. So what happened to Bond cars? The ending might surprise you. By 1969, Bond cars was struggling to keep up. Sales were down and larger companies were dominating the small car scene. That year, Reliant, another three-wheeler maker, swooped in and acquired Bond Cars Limited. They kept the Bond 875 around for a few years, but in 1974, the name Bond disappeared from dealerships entirely. But that wasn't the end. Today, Bond minicars are cult classics. A well-restored Bond MKF can fetch thousands of pounds at auction. There's even a thriving Bond owners club in the UK with members proudly restoring and driving these little marvels. Collectors love them not because they were fast or flashy, but because they represent a very specific time in history. A time when creativity, necessity, and a sprinkle of madness could build a car from spare airplane parts. And honestly, that's what makes it awesome. So here's the takeaway. The 1952 Bond Minicar wasn't just a quirky microcar with 3 wheels and wooden doors, it was a mechanical rebellion. A defiant little machine that flipped a 2-stroke engine at the status quo and said, "I may be weird, but I work." It gave freedom to thousands. It dodged taxes, licensing rules and conventional engineering, and today it lives on as a shining or wobbling reminder that cars don't have to be huge to make a big impact. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of Britain's wildest rides, don't forget to smash that subscribe button like you're smashing a soggy cardboard box, drop a like and tell me in the comments, would you trust yourself driving a Bond minicar down a modern highway? Thanks for watching Ab Tech Lab, where history gets horsepower. Stay curious, stay rolling.